of summer. So let's make some summer plans with our basketball friend. Tim Legler, should James Harden get the max from the Sixers this summer?
I wouldn't give it to him, but again, I'm not the one that has to make those decisions, so it's easy for me to say it. Look, I just think if you can try to get James Harden to take less money, you need to do that, and if James Harden would be willing to do it, I think it gives the Sixers a better opportunity to win going forward. I think his playoff history dictates that no, you do not give him a max deal.
Windy, will LeBron James extend with the Lakers?
Trust me, I checked on this, Greeny, and the answer that I got back with is undecided at this point. Now, this is not a decision for June 30th or July 1st. This decision can't even be rendered until August. So there's about 6 weeks between now and the Lakers get to go through the draft and free agency before they get to decide whether to present it with them.
And then, Legs, back to you. Should Kyrie Irving get a max deal by the end of this summer?
Well, I think similar to what I said about Harden, but for different reasons. I think talent's not enough, Greeny. I think dependability, reliability, I think a guy that you know you can count on when you need him to be at his best, certainly for a playoff run with Kevin Durant, would dictate that, and it just hasn't happened in the last 5 years. He's played as many playoff games as he did in his one title run in Cleveland. So, no, I wouldn't give him the max deal either, but I know how this league works. Most likely he's going to get it.
All right, well, we will see. So we spent the beginning of our show talking about Kyrie today. In the meantime, let's talk about his teammate. After the Warriors clinched their series in the championship over the Celtics on Friday morning, Charles Barkley came on here. The game was Thursday. He was on Friday. Here on Get Up, talking about Kevin Durant's decision to leave Golden State. Once more, here's what Barkley said.
Before KD gets that great respect from all the old heads, he's going to have to win a championship as the bus driver. Listen, he joined that team had already won a championship, so no disrespect, that's just a fact. But until he is the guy on a championship team, we're not going to ever give him the respect, that he probably deserves. And that's just the way it is. And like I say, the game hasn't changed. Kobe said it. LeBron said it. And so we're going to hold him to the same high standard.
All right, so Barkley said that, and then that clip from our show got posted, and Kevin Durant responded to it on Twitter, saying all this stuff is nasty. Another terrible analogy from a hating old head that can't accept that we're making more bread than them. It's just timing, Chucky. Don't hate the player. So that's what Kevin Durant tweeted. Then Charles Barkley was on with our Stanley Cup broadcast team last night during the first intermission of Avalanche Lightning with Steve Levy, Chris Chelios, and Mark Messier. And here's what Charles said.
We've always said how lucky the hockey analysts are. Like Melrose and these guys, they can criticize. They don't hear from his family.
Yeah,
you criticize the NBA.
Yeah, but they tweet about me. Hockey players just want to win. They don't sit around and tweet.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's where we are with all of this now. And it does come back to this. You know, Wendy, you weren't with us yesterday. Timmy Legs, you were. The idea that Durant gets himself involved in all of this, he's responding to everyone from Charles Barkley, who is one of the greatest players that ever picked up a basketball, to some person on Twitter with 91 followers who tweets something nasty about him. How about that? What should we make of this back and forth with Kevin Durant?
Well, I
Is that for
say,
Wendy or myself?
I respect Charles Barkley. Yeah, I
Go ahead,
respect
Wendy,
Charles
go.
Barkley greatly, but he needs to review the 2017 tape. Kevin Durant was the bus driver of that championship. That was the best team that LeBron was on that never won a title, and it was because of Kevin Durant. But beyond that, Durant made a couple of big decisions to really, marry himself to Kyrie Irving. He made the decision in 2019 when he came to the Nets. He could have stayed in Golden State. He could have gone elsewhere, like teaming up with Kawhi Leonard with the Clippers. And then last summer, when he did not have to, he signed a 4-year, $200 million contract extension. He signed it during the Olympics when he was playing and leading that team to the gold medal. And by doing that, he reaffirmed his connection to Kyrie. Then last season, there was a James Harden ask for a trade. He again sides with Kyrie. So I can only go by what Kevin Durant's actions have been, and Kyrie is leaning on that too. And that is that he will continue to side with Kyrie and want to try to win a championship with him, even though I don't believe that he necessarily has to.
So that's fair. The substance, just how substantive the criticism might be, is one discussion entirely. The other is to dismiss it with no level of introspection whatsoever as, well, if you criticize me, it must be because you're envious of the money I make or something else like that. That feels to me a little bit different, Legs, and we were here for this conversation yesterday before Kevin Durant fired back on Charles Barkley. How about it?
Yeah, I would love for Kevin Durant to stay out of it. Honestly, I think it's a bad look for him. It's a tough argument or conversation for him to win. So I would love to see Kevin Durant stay out of it. And here's where I think there's a little bit of right and wrong in what Charles said. I think the part that he is wrong about, I think he's going too far and it's too broad sweeping. I think the lack of credit that he gives Kevin Durant for what happened in Golden State. And I love this bus analogy. So if we're going to say it's a bus and someone's driving it, for me, there's no question Kevin Durant was behind the wheel of that bus. The problem is, it wasn't his bus. He was borrowing the bus. If you got pulled over for a violation and they checked the registration in that glove compartment, it's going to have Steph Curry's name on it. That bus was titled to Steph Curry, and Kevin Durant was driving it. There's no question that he was the best player on those teams. And I think that's where Charles's comments go a little too far. But here is where I think he is right a little bit. You cannot say that every championship is weighted the same for great players. They just aren't. There's a lot of context that goes into each one of them. And what Charles Barkley is basically saying is, if he can go win one in a different, with a different team, different organization, in a different way, where clearly he built it first, then I think he's going to get more credit than what he did in Golden State. And that is a true fact. That's the way we regard championships. And that's really what Charles was trying to say. I just think he went a little too far in a little bit of credit that he gave Kevin Durant for what happened in Golden State.
Look, the history is well documented in all of this, and there isn't any obvious reason to relitigate it all. But not only does the bus's registration have Steph Curry's name on it, but it beat Durant's bus in a race the year before when Durant was out in front, and then it got, So my point, Windy, is I understand what Charles is saying. And whether he's 100% right or 50% right or 0% right, this is sort of the game we're all playing here, right? Everyone offers their opinions, and then we all get on with it, and Kevin Durant gets a chance to have the last word on the court, and sometimes it feels to me like he should have his last word there. It's up to him how he wants to handle these beefs, if you will, Windy, but that feels to me like the obvious answer here.
Yeah, and it's like Durant is a guy who I've always said that his only real weakness in his whole persona is that he sometimes has a bit of a thin skin. You certainly can't find any weakness in his game, and he has a thin skin. And it was because of his thin skin that he felt that he had to leave Golden State. It's because of his thin skin that he reacts and responds on Twitter. But I'll say this, he owns that. He openly says, yeah, I respond on Twitter. That's what I do. Tough luck. And so he has set a standard that he has to meet. He has set his own parameters, and now he's got to be held to it. And now he had decided to do that with Kyrie Irving, and now he's got a mess on his hands, and it's partially of his own making.
All right, let's see where all that goes again. They've got 8 days before that deadline. Guys, stay there. Much more basketball as we go. But let me go back.